The night sky of Earth trembled. Far above the blue planet, a vast fleet of alien warships floated in silence. Their dark hulls blocked out the stars, casting huge shadows over the world below. Cities on Earth looked like tiny sparks compared to the massive ships. The people of Earth stared at the sky with fear, wondering if this would be the end of their world. At the center of the fleet was the flagship, an enormous vessel shaped like a blade. Inside its command hall stood Lord Varen, Supreme Commander of the Zorith Dominion. His tall figure was wrapped in shining armor of black and silver, and his eyes glowed with cold fire. He looked down at Earth through a large viewing screen. Varen's voice was deep and sharp. "Look at this place," he said, almost laughing. "So fragile, so weak. This planet is nothing but dirt and water. And its people?" He paused, his lips curling into a cruel smile. "Its people are pathetic." Around him, rows of soldiers stood silent. They were the elite guards, giant warriors covered head to toe in heavy armor. Their helmets hid their faces completely. They stood still, like statues, not even moving as their commander mocked the world beneath them. Varen raised his hand, and a holographic map of Earth appeared in the air. It showed the cities, the oceans, and the continents. "This will be easy," he said. "A single strike will crush their armies. Their leaders will beg for mercy. And then, the Dominion will take this planet for its resources. Another world added to my glory." One of his officers, a smaller alien with pale skin and nervous eyes, spoke carefully. "My lord, there are reports. The humans have started forming resistance groups. They are gathering weapons." Varen turned slowly, his burning eyes fixing on the officer. "Resistance?" he said, his voice dripping with mockery. "You call that resistance? These creatures fight with metal scraps and primitive fire. They are insects trying to fight a storm." The officer lowered his head quickly, trembling under the commander's gaze. Varen walked toward the massive viewing screen, his hands clasped behind his back. "In all my campaigns, I have faced real enemies. Civilizations with technology that could challenge us. Armies that shook the stars. But here," he gestured at Earth, his voice filled with arrogance. "Here I see only a dying world pretending to be brave. It will be my pleasure to show them what true power is." The elite guards did not respond. They did not cheer, they did not move. They simply stood, silent and still, as if carved from stone. For a moment, a strange feeling filled the room. The silence of the guards seemed heavier than usual, as if their silence carried a secret. But Varen did not notice, or he did not care. He trusted them completely. He turned back to his officers. "Prepare the fleet," he commanded. "In 3 cycles we strike. The humans will learn fear. And when their cities burn, they will understand the price of defying the Dominion." The officers bowed and rushed to obey. Only the guards remained, still as statues. Deep inside one of the helmets, a pair of human eyes blinked. The guard's breath was slow, controlled. His heart beat quietly under the armor. To the outside world, he was just another silent warrior of the Dominion. But behind the mask, he was not alien. He was human. He remembered flashes of another life. Dirt roads, green fields, the sound of laughter, the face of a woman calling his name. But those memories were like smoke, fading when he tried to hold them. His mind had been trained, reshaped, broken. He was supposed to forget who he was. Yet, standing there, listening to Lord Varen insult Earth, something inside him stirred. Something that refused to die. He could not speak. His voice had been silenced by years of training. But his hands trembled slightly, almost invisible under the heavy gloves. He clenched them hard to stop the shaking. Meanwhile, Earth below was filled with fear. News channels showed images of the alien ships covering the skies. Families hid in shelters, governments argued in secret rooms, and soldiers prepared weapons that seemed useless against such power. Humanity stood on the edge of despair. But even in that darkness, whispers of resistance spread. Some humans refused to surrender. They planned to fight even if it meant certain death. They believed there was still hope. Hope that the aliens had underestimated them. Hope that humans were more than what Lord Varen believed. On the flagship, Varen stood proudly at the center of the command hall, his laughter echoing like thunder. They think themselves strong. They think themselves clever. But soon they will see, Earth is pathetic. Nothing more. The elite guards did not move. But inside their helmets, behind the silence, a secret truth waited. Because the most powerful soldiers of the Dominion were not aliens at all. They were humans. And in that silence, in that secret, a storm was waiting to rise. The world was burning with fear. Alien ships filled the skies like dark clouds. Their shadows spread across oceans and cities. People on Earth looked up, knowing they were no longer safe. Governments tried to calm the population, but nothing worked. Everyone knew the truth. Humanity was facing an enemy far beyond its strength. But not all humans were afraid. Some were angry. Some were ready to fight. In an underground bunker, deep beneath the ruins of an abandoned city, a small group of resistance fighters gathered. Their weapons were old, their supplies limited, but their eyes were full of determination. At the center of the group stood Captain Elias Kane. His face was marked with scars, his hair cut short, his voice steady. He had once been a soldier in Earth's army. Now he was the leader of the resistance. "We don't have much time," Elias said, pointing to a holographic map of the alien fleet. "The Zorith Dominion is preparing for a strike. If they hit the cities, millions will die." Around him, the fighters whispered nervously. Some of them were soldiers, others were civilians who had lost everything. Families, homes, futures. All of them were ready to risk their lives. "But how can we fight them?" one young man asked. "Their ships are too strong. Their weapons are impossible to match." Elias's eyes burned with fire. "We fight not because we can win easily," he said, "but because surrender is worse. We fight because Earth is our home." The room went silent. His words gave them strength. At the edge of the group, a woman in a long coat studied a series of glowing screens. Her name was Dr. Mira Solon, a scientist who had worked for Earth's defense program before the invasion. She was brilliant, calm, and always searching for answers where others saw none. Myra's eyes narrowed as she scanned the data. "There is something strange," she said softly. "I've been analyzing their forces, especially their elite guards. Their movements, their reactions. They are too perfect, too controlled." Elias walked closer. "What do you mean?" She tapped the screen, showing lines of genetic scans taken from old battlefield samples. The resistance had risked their lives to collect them. "These are DNA traces left after one of their guards was injured in a skirmish near the coast," Mira explained. "Look here. This is not alien." Elias frowned. "Then what is it?" Her voice dropped into a whisper. "It's human." The room exploded in disbelief. Fighters gasped, some shouted in anger. "Human? That's impossible. They wear alien armor. They fight against us." Mira stood firm, her eyes steady. "I checked it 3 times. The DNA is human. Their elite warriors are not aliens. They are us." Elias's fists tightened. His heart pounded in his chest. "Are you telling me," he said slowly, "that those monsters are humans in disguise?" "Not in disguise," Mira corrected. "Taken, changed, maybe brainwashed, maybe reprogrammed. I don't know how, but they are human." The fighters looked at each other in shock. The thought was unbearable. Brothers, sisters, maybe even their own families, stolen and turned into weapons for the enemy. Elias slammed his hand against the table. "Then we cannot just fight them. We must find a way to free them. If we can turn even one back to our side, we may have a chance." Mira nodded. "If we can understand how the Dominion controls them, we might break that control. But it will be dangerous. We need to capture one alive." The fighters whispered again, fear and hope mixing together. To capture an elite guard was nearly impossible. They were strong, fast, and deadly. But the thought of saving even one human trapped inside gave them courage. Meanwhile, far above, on the alien flagship, the guards still stood in silence. One of them, the same guard whose hands had trembled earlier, stared into nothingness. Inside his helmet, his human mind fought against the chains of programming. He did not know why, but the word Earth echoed in his thoughts like a forgotten song. He remembered fire, smoke, and the day he was taken. His body obeyed the Dominion, but his heart whispered of freedom. Back in the bunker, Elias gathered his team. "We don't know how many humans they have taken," he said. "But if what Mira says is true, then our enemy's greatest strength is also their weakness. Their elite guards may be the key." One of the fighters, an older man with gray hair, spoke with a trembling voice. "My son disappeared years ago before the invasion. People said he was taken by strangers in the night. If these guards are human, could my son be one of them?" The question hung in the air like a blade. No one answered. Elias placed his hand on the man's shoulder. "If he is, then we will fight to bring him back." That night, the resistance made a plan. They would strike a small supply convoy guarded by only a handful of elites. Their goal was not to destroy the aliens, but to capture one guard alive. It was madness. It was almost suicide, but it was their only chance. Mira prepared the equipment to scan and study the prisoner. Elias prepared his fighters for battle. And deep in their hearts, they carried both fear and hope, fear of failure, and hope that humanity was not as powerless as the enemy believed. Above them, in the skies filled with alien warships, Lord Varen laughed again. He believed Earth was weak. He believed resistance was hopeless. But far below, in the darkness of a broken city, humans were planning something he had not expected. Not surrender, revenge. The alien flagship floated silently in Earth's orbit. Its sharp wings cut through the darkness of space like a predator waiting for the kill. Inside, the command hall glowed with cold light. Rows of elite guards stood unmoving, their armor black and silver, their helmets hiding all emotion. They were the pride of the Dominion, unbeatable, unbreakable, unquestioning. But inside one of those helmets, a secret war was raging. The guard's name, he could not remember it. The Dominion had erased it long ago. But deep in his mind, fragments of memory still lived. A voice calling him son. The smell of rain on fresh soil. A girl's laughter echoing in his ears. He forced his body to remain still because if he moved without command, he would be punished. Yet his heart screamed against the silence. Every insult Lord Varen spoke about Earth struck him like a blade. Pathetic, weak, worthless. But he knew those words were lies. He remembered kindness, courage, family. He remembered being human. Far below, on Earth, the resistance had chosen their moment. Captain Elias and his fighters moved through the ruins of an old industrial city. The sky above glowed faintly with alien lights, but the shadows of broken buildings gave them cover. They carried rifles and explosives, small weapons against a massive empire. Dr. Mira walked beside Elias, her eyes scanning the horizon. She clutched a small device, one that could scan DNA if they captured an enemy alive. "Remember," she whispered, "we don't kill them if we can help it. We need proof." Elias nodded, though his jaw tightened. He knew how dangerous this mission was. "We capture one," he said to his team. "One elite. That is all. If Mira is right, the truth could change everything." The fighters checked their weapons. Fear filled their eyes, but so did determination. Soon, a convoy appeared in the distance, 2 alien hovercrafts carrying supplies, guarded by 3 elite guards. Their heavy footsteps echoed across the broken street. Their tall, armored figures looked like machines of war. The resistance hid behind rubble, waiting. Elias raised his hand, signaling silence. The convoy entered the trap. A sudden explosion ripped the road apart. The first hovercraft flipped into the air, crashing down in flames. Fighters opened fire, bullets sparking against alien armor. The second hovercraft swerved, trying to escape, but was hit by grenades. The elite guards turned, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. The battle began. The guards moved like shadows, fast, precise, unstoppable. One struck a fighter with a single blow, throwing him across the street. Another raised his weapon and blasted a wall into dust. But the resistance fought with everything they had. They moved in groups, distracting, surrounding, forcing the guards to split apart. Elias himself charged forward, his rifle spitting fire. He shouted, "Now! Take one alive!" A net of electric wires shot out, wrapping around one guard. He struggled, his strength immense, but the fighters piled on, hitting him with shock charges. Finally, with a crash, the armored giant fell to the ground. The other two guards fought fiercely, but when their convoy burned and their mission failed, they retreated back into the shadows. The resistance had done the impossible. They had captured an elite guard. The prisoner was dragged into the underground bunker. His heavy armor clanked against the floor, and his helmet remained sealed. He lay there silent like a machine. Mira stepped forward, her hands shaking but her eyes focused. She activated her scanner and pressed it against the armor. The device beeped, flashing results across the screen. Everyone leaned in to see. Human DNA. The room went silent. Then came the gasps. Some cried out in shock, others in anger. "It's true," Mira whispered. "They are human." The fighters stared at the massive figure on the floor. Their enemy, their nightmare, was one of their own people. Elias knelt down beside the prisoner. "Who are you?" he demanded. "Do you remember anything? Do you know who you are?" The guard did not respond. His breathing was steady, his body still. It was as if he were empty inside. Mira studied the helmet. There must be a control system. Some way they suppress his mind. She pulled out her tools and began working on the locks. With a hiss, the helmet slowly opened. And beneath it was a human face. His skin was pale, his eyes distant, his expression blank. But he was no alien. He was flesh and blood just like them. The fighters recoiled in shock. One of them covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "He looks like my brother," she whispered. Elias stared into the man's empty eyes. "What have they done to you?" Inside, the guard's mind flickered. The programming fought to keep him silent, but something stirred. He heard the voices around him, human voices, familiar voices. For the first time in years, he forced his lips to move. His voice cracked, rough and broken. "I am human." The words shook the bunker like thunder. The fighters froze, their hearts racing. Elias leaned closer, gripping the man's shoulder. "Yes, you are. And we will help you remember." Myra's eyes shone with both fear and hope. If he can break through, then others can too. But above them, in the alien flagship, Lord Varen stood at his viewing screen. Reports of the failed convoy reached him. His face twisted in anger. "Resistance vermin," he growled. "They dare to touch what is mine?" He turned to his guards, who remained silent as always. He did not know, or perhaps refused to believe, that inside their armor, seeds of rebellion had already begun to grow. Back in the bunker, the captured guard's hand trembled. For the first time, his eyes showed emotion. Pain, confusion, and something else. Hope. The stars above Earth burned cold and distant, while the alien fleet circled like hungry predators. On the flagship, Lord Varen stood tall in the command hall, his voice echoing across the chamber. "The humans still resist," he growled. "They think they can fight the Dominion. Fools. Tonight we will crush their spirit. Tonight, their leaders will learn fear." His officers bowed, but the elite guards remained motionless, lined like statues. Their black and silver armor gleamed under the lights, their faces hidden. They did not speak, did not move, did not question. At least most of them did not. Among the guards, one soldier's heart beat faster. Behind his helmet, his human eyes shifted slightly, breaking the illusion of perfect silence. He had seen battlefields covered in fire. He had killed countless humans with his own hands. Yet their screams haunted him. Their faces returned in his dreams. And when Lord Varen spoke of burning Earth, the guard's hands trembled. He remembered his own Earth. The sound of waves on a beach. A child's laughter. A name he could not fully recall. It was like a light inside him, small but impossible to extinguish. That same night, deep underground on Earth, Captain Elias and Dr. Mira watched over their prisoner, the captured elite guard. The man sat against the wall, his helmet removed. His pale face was still blank, but sometimes his eyes flickered, as though he was fighting something inside. "Do you remember who you are?" Elias asked quietly. The guard hesitated, lips parting slowly. "Human," he whispered. Mira leaned closer, her heart racing. "Yes, you are human. They took you. They changed you. But you belong to Earth." He shook his head, confused. His voice cracked like dry stone. "Orders. I follow orders." Elias grabbed his arm. "No, you can choose. You are not their machine. You are one of us." For a long moment, silence filled the bunker. Then the guard's eyes shimmered with something almost forgotten, pain. "I killed humans." Elias's face hardened. "Yes, but that wasn't your choice. That was theirs. If you want redemption, fight them now. Stand with us." The guard said nothing, but deep inside, something shifted. On the flagship, Lord Varen prepared for his next move. He ordered the execution of captured human fighters, planning to broadcast it across Earth as a warning. The Resistance learned of this through hidden channels. They knew if the executions happened, morale would collapse. They had to act. But to attack an alien camp guarded by elites was madness. Elias looked at Mira. "We need help. If the guard we captured truly is human, then maybe others are too. Maybe one of them can resist." Mira nodded. "If we can reach even one more, it could turn the tide." The next day, in a dark alien prison camp, the executions began. Dozens of humans were lined up, chained, their faces pale with fear. Alien officers stood ready, and 3 elite guards marched forward with weapons raised. The silent crowd of prisoners trembled, waiting for death. Then it happened. One of the guards hesitated. His weapon trembled in his hands. His armored head tilted slightly, as if listening to a voice no one else could hear. "Execute," an alien officer barked. But the guard did not move. His finger froze above the trigger. His chest rose and fell, faster and faster. Inside his helmet, his human mind screamed, "No, not again. These are my people. I cannot." The officer turned angrily. "Obey." Still, the guard stood frozen. The other 2 guards stepped forward, their weapons aimed. But the hesitant guard suddenly spun, striking one of them with a force that shook the ground. The alien officer shouted in rage as the prisoners gasped. The guard's weapon dropped from his hands. For the first time in years, he spoke. His voice was rough, broken, but strong enough to echo across the camp. "I am human." Chaos exploded. The prisoners cried out, hope flooding their voices. The guards attacked each other, their heavy armor clashing. The rebelling guard fought with fury, his strength no longer for the Dominion but for Earth. He smashed one of his brothers down, even as pain filled his eyes. "Run!" he shouted to the prisoners. "Run!" The humans broke their chains and scattered. The rebellion had begun. News of the incident reached Lord Varen quickly. His fury shook the flagship. "Impossible!" he roared. "My guards do not betray me. They cannot." But deep inside, doubt stirred. He had seen small hesitations before, tiny cracks in their loyalty. He had ignored them, believing his control absolute. Now he was not so sure. Back in the bunker, Elias listened to the desperate transmissions from survivors of the prison camp. A guard had turned against the Dominion. A guard had spoken the truth. Elias clenched his fist. "It's starting," he said. "The cracks are opening. If one can break free, more can follow." Myra's eyes lit with fire. "Then we must push harder. We must show them who they really are. Humans must remind them of their blood, their families, their home." Elias looked at the silent guard they had captured earlier. His face was blank, but his hands trembled slightly, as if he too had heard the words from his brother in the camp. The spark was spreading. Above them, in the endless dark of space, the Dominion still believed it held power. But inside its strongest weapon, the elite guards, humanity was waking up. And when humans awaken, they do not return to sleep. The night sky above Earth burned with alien lights. Dozens of Dominion ships hovered like vultures, preparing for the strike that would finally crush the resistance. On the flagship, Lord Varen stood in his command hall, furious. Reports had spread of a guard who had refused orders. A guard who had shouted, "I am human," before freeing prisoners. Varen's hands shook with rage. "Lies," he hissed. "One broken soldier does not matter. The rest are loyal." But deep in his mind, doubt gnawed at him. He turned to the rows of silent elite guards standing behind. They looked perfect, unbroken. But he thought he saw something. Tiny movements, a hesitation, a flicker of life in their eyes. He clenched his fist. "They are mine. They will never betray me." Far below, in the underground bunker, Captain Elias and Dr. Mira prepared for their boldest mission yet. The resistance had grown stronger. Word of the Guards' rebellion had spread across human camps like fire in dry grass. People whispered of hope, of courage, of the truth that the Dominion tried to hide. "The Guards are human," Elias told his fighters, standing before them with fierce eyes. "They are not our enemies. They are our brothers and sisters, stolen from us. If one can break free, more can too. And if enough of them turn, we can fight the Dominion on equal ground." The fighters nodded, some with tears in their eyes. Many had lost family members who had vanished years ago. Now, the possibility that their loved ones might still live filled them with desperate strength. That night, the resistance struck. Their target was an alien weapons depot at the edge of a ruined city. It was heavily guarded by elites, but Elias had a plan. As the fighters crept through the shadows, Mira whispered urgently, "We can't only fight them with bullets. We need to reach them with words. We must remind them who they are." Elias nodded, carrying a small device Mira had built. It could project human voices, memories, even music, the kind of things the guards might still remember. The battle began with fire. Explosions ripped through the depot, lighting up the night. Resistance fighters stormed forward, weapons blazing. Alien officers shouted in panic, summoning the guards. The elite guards marched out, their towering figures glowing in the flames. Their presence was terrifying, their weapons unstoppable. But among them were cracks. Some hesitated, their heads tilting, their grips loosening. The words of their fallen brother, "I am human," still echoed in their minds. Elias stood in the open, facing them, fearless. He raised the device Mira had given him. With a loud hum, it came to life. Voices filled the battlefield. Not alien voices, human voices. The sound of children laughing. The cry of a mother calling her son's name. The ringing of church bells. The whistle of trains. The music of earth. The guards froze. Their weapons lowered slightly. Their breathing grew heavier behind the helmets. Memories cracked through the walls of programming. One of them trembled, dropping his gun. Another ripped his helmet free, gasping for air, his human face pale in the firelight. His eyes filled with tears. "I remember," he whispered. The battlefield erupted. Some guards turned on the aliens, striking their former masters with deadly blows. Others tore off their helmets, joining the humans in the fight. The Dominion officers screamed in fury, but it was too late. The tide had turned. Elias charged forward with his men, and the freed guards fought beside them. The ground shook as armored fists smashed alien weapons. Resistance fighters cheered, their hope burning brighter than ever. Mira ran among them, scanning every freed guard, confirming their DNA. Each one was proof, undeniable proof, that the Dominion's strongest soldiers were stolen humans. But not all guards were free. Some remained trapped in the Dominion's chains, still fighting with deadly precision. The battlefield became chaos, human against alien, freed guards against enslaved guards. Brothers against brothers. Elias fought desperately, dodging a strike from one guard still under control. The massive soldier raised his weapon to kill him. But another guard, helmet removed, face scarred, eyes full of pain, stepped between them. "Not him," he growled, blocking the attack. The two guards clashed, armor crashing, sparks flying. Above the city, The alien flagship watched the battle unfold. Lord Varen's eyes widened as he saw his perfect soldiers tearing off their helmets, fighting against his rule. "No," he whispered. "This cannot be." One of his officers turned in fear. "My lord, the humans, your guards, they are rebelling." Varen roared in rage. His voice shook the chamber. "They are mine. They belong to me." But deep down he knew the truth. His strongest weapon was slipping away. On the ground, the battle reached its peak. The depot burned, alien forces crumbled, and more guards joined the humans. At last silence fell. The depot was destroyed. The aliens had retreated. And in the flames stood Elias, Mira, and a group of freed guards, human once more. Elias looked at them, his chest heavy with emotion. "You are not their tools. You are our family. Welcome home." The freed guards bowed their heads, ashamed but grateful. One spoke with a trembling voice. "We thought we were lost forever. But we remember now. We remember Earth." Myra's eyes shone with tears. "Then this is only the beginning." Far above, in his flagship, Lord Varen stared at Earth with hatred. For the first time, fear touched his heart. The humans were not broken. The humans were fighting back. And his perfect soldiers were choosing Earth over him. The turning point had come. The war was no longer between aliens and humans. It was between arrogance and unity, between chains and freedom. And for the first time, humanity had hope of victory. The world stood at the edge of fire. Alien warships circled above Earth like dark vultures, their weapons charged, their shadows swallowing cities. On the ground, people braced for destruction. They expected doom, but something new was happening, something no alien had predicted. The Dominion's strongest soldiers, the elite guards, were breaking their chains. In the underground bunker, Captain Elias Kane stood before a mixed army. Resistance fighters, scientists, civilians, and dozens of freed guards. Their helmets lay discarded, their human faces pale but proud. "You are proof," Elias said, his voice carrying across the room. "You are proof that we are not weak, not pathetic, not broken. The Dominion used you as weapons, but you are human. You are Earth. And together we will end this." The fighters cheered, but the freed guards stayed silent, their heads bowed. One stepped forward, his voice rough but steady. "We have killed our own. We cannot change the past, but we can fight for the future." Elias gripped his shoulder firmly. "Then fight with us. Together." Dr. Mira worked tirelessly with the guards, using her devices to weaken the Dominion's control signals. Each freed soldier became stronger, their memories returning piece by piece. Some wept when they remembered their families. Others swore vengeance against the commander who had stolen their lives. "The final battle is coming," Mira said to Elias. "Varen won't wait any longer. He will strike with everything." Elias nodded grimly. "Then we strike first." High above, on the flagship, Lord Varen's fury shook the ship. "My guards betray me. My officers fail me. And these humans dare to resist." He slammed his fist against the command table, cracking the steel. An officer trembled. "My lord, shall we retreat and regroup?" "Retreat." Varen's eyes blazed. "I am the Dominion. I do not retreat. I will destroy this planet myself if I must. I will burn it to ash, and every guard who dares betray me will die screaming." He turned to the silent guards around him. "Obey me, or perish." But even in their silence, cracks showed. Some twitched. Some looked away. The seeds of rebellion were spreading. The final battle began at dawn. The skies above Earth lit up as human resistance ships, small, weak, but fast, rose from hidden bases. Beside them flew captured alien craft, piloted by freed guards. Against them loomed the massive Dominion fleet. Elias stood in the cockpit of a stolen ship, Mira at his side. "This is it," he said. "Today we take back our world." On the ground, resistance fighters prepared rockets and traps. Families prayed in ruined streets. Across the planet, humans who had once given up now lifted their heads with hope. The message was clear. Humanity would not bow. The fleets clashed above Earth in thunder and fire. Explosions lit the sky. Resistance ships darted between massive alien cruisers, striking weak points with stolen codes provided by freed guards. On the surface, humans fought side by side with armored giants who once had been their enemies. Freed guards smashed alien war machines, their voices crying out in rage and redemption. It was chaos, it was brutal, but it was no longer one-sided. For the first time, the Dominion bled. At the center of it all, the flagship descended, its massive shadow covering the battlefield. Lord Varen himself emerged, wrapped in black armor, taller and more terrifying than any soldier. He raised his weapon, his voice booming like thunder. Pathetic humans. You think you have one? You are ants before a storm. I will crush you with my own hands. He strode across the battlefield, unstoppable, scattering fighters like dust. His blows shattered walls. His weapon burned with unholy fire. No one could stand against him, until the freed guards stepped forward. One by one, they faced him. You called us yours, one said. But we are human. You made us weapons, another growled. Now we turn that power against you. They attacked together, but Varen was powerful, his strength overwhelming. He hurled them aside, his laughter cruel. You are nothing without me. Elias charged forward, rifle in hand, standing between Varen and the survivors. His body shook, but his eyes burned with fire. We are not nothing, he shouted. We are humanity, and we are more than you will ever understand. Varen raised his weapon to strike him down. But before the blow fell, Mira activated her device. It pulsed with light, sending a shockwave across the battlefield. Every guard, freed or enslaved, staggered. The signal that bound them cracked, shattered. One by one, helmets fell to the ground. Human faces stared out, dazed but awake. Dozens, hundreds. The Dominion's entire weapon had turned human again. Lord Varen froze in disbelief. His army, his pride, his perfect soldiers, all gone. No, he whispered. They cannot. They belong to me. But the guards surrounded him, their eyes filled with fury. They had once been his slaves. Now they were free. You called Earth pathetic, one guard said. But Earth gave us courage. You stole our lives, another said. But Earth gave us back our humanity. Together they charged. The battle was fierce. Varen fought like a beast, but no single warrior could withstand the combined fury of those he had enslaved. Blows rained down on him. Weapons struck. Fists crushed his armor. At last, Elias raised his weapon and fired the final shot. Lord Varen fell, his body crashing into the dirt. His glowing eyes dimmed, his voice breaking into silence. The battlefield grew quiet. The sky cleared as alien ships fled in panic, leaderless, broken. All around, humans stood with tears in their eyes. Freed guards dropped to their knees, some weeping, some staring at the sky as if seeing it for the first time. Elias looked at them, his voice soft but strong. You are not slaves anymore. You are home. Mira smiled through her tears. He once called Earth pathetic, but in the end, Earth was his downfall. The people of Earth lifted their heads, no longer in fear but in triumph. Against impossible odds, they had endured. They had fought. They had risen. And they had won. Because humanity is never pathetic. Humanity is unstoppable.